another inspection of the car park, see if anyone was hiding behind a bush or sitting in their car, warming themselves before they came in.
Thank you all for coming out.
So, if we may, we'll get kicked off. I'm using a microphone because Leanne there is recording this for posterity, because we normally upload these meetings onto our website so that others who... Another member of the public, excellent. Please, sir, do come in and join us. We're just getting started. We're just kicked off. So I'm Roger Hurst, I'm your Police Farm Crime Commissioner. Really, thank you very much for turning out on... it's not a particularly cold night. It is dark, I'll say dark. We have not that many of you, if I can put it that way. I'm really pleased to see the ones who have come. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask questions. We may not fill the entire hour unless we have big topics that we get stuck into. Certainly I don't intend to give you a 40-minute speech just to fill the time. That isn't really the general idea. But if I may, we'll introduce ourselves on the panel first, and then a couple of words from me, and then we'll go straight into the questions and topics that you want to raise. And I'm sure there'll be some. We always learn something from these meetings, so I really am very grateful that you have turned out. And if there are any questions that we can't answer this evening, then we will find those answers and post them on the website when we upload the video of what we're doing here this evening. But if I can, I'll just start. Spencer first.
Thank you, Roger. My name is Spencer Clark, and I'm the Community Safety Manager at Maldon District Council.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Meekins. I'm the Group Manager for the North East Command of Essex Fire Rescue Service that captures Maldon and the Dengie area.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Ballard, and I am a representative from Essex Police.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And we've got a couple more representatives, Grant and Ian as well, here who are supporting us, and Glenn's from my team, Leanne's from my team, and Jane is my deputy. So we're here en masse. Thank you very much for coming. Just a couple of reflections from me. I'm sure you are well aware we have invested pretty heavily in both of these services over the last few years. And I'm really pleased that has brought benefits in terms of the strategic shift to prevention that we've done. So that applies to both fire and rescue and to policing. Policing is at the highest level of strength it's been, with 3,755 police officers across Essex. Crime is falling, has been falling now since 2019. And I'm really pleased. We started with the highest harms, so halving murder, halving burglary, reducing domestic abuse now by nearly 20%. There are other things that we need to do. Vehicle crime, most recently, we've actually put a lot of effort into and have reversed the rising trend there. But we are now at the point where we need to be dealing with things like common assault and shoplifting, which are still very much on the rise. So it's not a universally positive picture, but in terms of overall harm in the county, we've brought it down, and we have a good strength to continue doing that. Similarly, the Fire and Rescue Service has shifted a lot into prevention, to the extent that we've seen something like a 20% reduction in house fires. The service is busy because we're doing more to support other agencies, particularly the ambulance service, where we're doing a lot around rescuing people trapped behind closed doors and helping make sure people are safe in their homes through the safe and well visits that we do. All of those are working well. But the big area that I think both services recognise we have more to do on, and I certainly know we have more to do on, is road safety. There was something that happened during COVID. A number of drivers seemed to adopt worse driving habits. The roads were relatively free, weren't they? Relatively empty. And we have not yet managed to reverse that. So unfortunately, over the last 3 years, we have seen a substantial increase in the number of people killed seriously on the roads in Essex. I would just remind you, if you driving crime, speeding, drink driving, drug driving, using mobile phone, kill more people in this county than all other crime put together. So I do get people who sort of write to me saying, I've been arrested for speeding, why didn't you get the cops to do something with more serious crime? And I write back to them and point out what a serious crime it is. It is probably everyone in the room knows somebody who's been hurt in a road traffic collision, or knows a family where somebody has been. Hopefully you won't know anyone who's actually been hurt in drug crime, because it is much, much rarer by comparison. So there is clearly more to do. My mission on your behalf is to try and make sure that we have the resources to keep these services with the strength they have at the moment, where we are able to make that difference and bring down harm, bring down hazard, bring down crime, bring down social behaviour. And for that purpose I was actually up in Westminster today lobbying our MPs ahead of the budget, just trying to make sure that we are getting enough funding to keep where we are. I don't want to go backwards. I think we've seen a big surge in capability. We've invested more in working smarter as well. A lot of IT stuff, which means we can be in the right place at the right time, dealing with people who are criminals or who are known risk hazards, and dealing with buildings where we know that there are risks. All of that is working. We need to keep on doing it. So on your behalf, I am continuing to do that. We have a survey which is open at the moment to the public around our precept increase for next year. If you haven't gone online and answered the questions there about what your priorities are and where you see us and what else we need to do, please do, because we can't fill that in for you. We very much appreciate your feedback. We've got hard copies here. They're even better. Step ahead. Okay, that's probably enough from me. Let's go to Q&A. We'd appreciate it if you would use the microphone. It'll just pick it up and we'll. But if you don't want to identify yourself, you don't have to. The camera is focused on us. You will not appear on the recording. If you want to identify yourselves, it's always welcome. Who's first, please? You arrived first, so go on.
There we go, sir.
You've mentioned KSIs on the road already, and you say the figures this year are astronomical.
Yeah, no worries.
What are you going to do differently going forward? Because I see an awful lot of speed enforcement. I see Maldon District Council with their own vans and their own true cam piece of equipment, which is all well and good. But what are you going to do different to bring it down? Because doing the same over and over again seems to see the figures going up and up.
I might have a crack at that first, and then others might want to come in. I think you're absolutely right. You keep on doing the same thing. The same thing that what we did before worked for a decade and a half and did bring the KSIs down, but it's not working now. And we've been talking about that with the Safe Essex Road Partnership. My view, and I think the view of Essex Police and Fire and Rescue Services, we need to modernise the way we work on this. So one of the things that we've done around drug and knife crime is working in part. Has it gone? It's gone.
Is it? Alright.
I'll swap you. Continuing on seamlessly, one of the things which we've done well on knife crime and drug crime, the Violence and Vulnerability Partnership, has been getting ahead of it by looking at who perpetrates this sort of crime and working out how we can get to those particular people and change their behaviours. So just stopping people on the road isn't doing it. We actually need to do the same sort of thing that we've done and spot those people, go into schools, get to people early, get them educated, try and make sure that we're in the right schools. We can plot where people live, what sort of background they have. Are there businesses we can talk to? You know, are there businesses we need to reach where we can help influence their drivers' behaviour? Not that commercial drivers are by any stretch of the imagination worse, they're not. As we know, the vast majority of bad driving is actually perpetrated by males aged 18 to 27. That's just a fact. And we need to work out how to get to them better in different ways from how we have before through different channels. So we need to be cuter at social media, but we also need to be using the sort of technology we have. Generally, people who are driving criminally are doing other criminal activity as well, and we need to be using that to identify who it is. Does anybody else want to say anything? Yeah.
Thank you. And I do agree with your point around obviously adapting and being flexible to changes and utilising better use of technology. And one of the things that Essex Police is growing and is becoming more and more prominent is our extra eyes technology that we utilise via the online reporting methods via Essex Police website, whereby we're not just necessarily waiting for collisions to occur or KSIs to happen, but moreover, if people have got dash cam or CCTV footage of people driving in a way which is a criminal offence, then we can take that action utilising that evidence once it's reported to us remotely. So trying to prevent those people who have those bad driving habits and are driving either criminally or antisocially from committing offences prior to them actually having that sort of collision. And I think one of the other things that Essex Police, along with all the other partners that have the statutory obligation as part of the Safer Essex Roads partnership, is looking around prevention and designing out challenges particularly. And I do know that they work really hard with our roads policing team and our operational planning team to work and look at issues within the roads with Essex Highways and other partners at where we might have challenges. So for example, come in. Specific areas where we might have real challenges around road safety because of some environmental factors as well as that sort of thing. So, but those sort of issues aren't just single agency; they have to be, done collaboratively. And I know there's a lot of work that goes on in the background around that. So I think you're quite right in your assertion. Doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result is, a famous quote by Einstein. But similarly, there is a lot of expansion going on across the partnership to try and deal with it in a more, in a different way, whilst continuing with that foundation of enforcement, as well as, as you say, quite rightly pointed out, colleagues from fire with the fire breaks, the work that you do in prevention and Spencer's team as well over here, it's really important.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe Spencer after
And just a quick and short follow-on, just to hopefully provide some assurance from a fire service perspective. We've got an ever-growing RTC reduction team that works very strongly and positively with our partner agencies. Obviously, fire is different to police. We're not enforcing agencies, so it's easier for us to reach certain audiences because there's not the fear of us arresting people or fining people. So I'm sure you've seen them, but within our RTC reduction team, we've got some nice cars that have been donated through Audi, and we've got our fire bike team, we've got some BMW motorcycles that have been donated, and that helps us get into the motoring enthusiasts so we can have those conversations with them and sort of spread the word of road safety, and that seems to work quite well.
Thank you. Just a few words about it was a community safety partnership. Already flagged up by the Commissioner, the Joint Education Team plays a really important role getting into schools and doing that education at early stage is really important. Going back a number of years, how our young people told us how to recycle and wear seatbelts, etc. That message coming from young people is really important. I think there's other things we could look at, things that have tactics that have a high level of compliance, things like average speed cameras. We know that they work. If you're going down the A12 and you see that little yellow sign, you do stop, you do slow down. Other things moving forward are things like, I'm not sure where the county are with their speed management strategy, but if we look at some of our rural roads, just by reducing the speed limit from 60 miles an hour down to 50, will have a really big impact, particularly in terms of ongoing enforcement. We as our community engagement team, as Gentleman quite rightly said, we use our speed enforcement TrueCam. We're looking to extend that this year. We're looking to purchase another unit, so we're not going to hold up on the actual enforcement we do around that. But other tactics we could look at is about nudging people's behaviour, because generally when you tell people not to do something, they don't pay a lot of attention. And what we've found a lot of success in the work we've done around violence against women and girls is having that nudge behaviour can be equally as effective than the actual enforcement.
So I guess from us is actually an ask, go out and nudge your friends and family, please. it does require societal change if we're actually going to beat what is one of the biggest harms in our society today. On the more positive side, we were looking last week actually at how we can do more here, and sort of looking at where else we can learn from. And fascinatingly, whilst most of the rest of the country, West Midlands, West Yorkshire, places of the same size as us, are seeing the same sort of increases. Hampshire, Sussex, which is again about the same size as us, has seen its level of KSIs drop by a double-digit percentage in the last year. So I'm good friends with the PCC for Sussex Katie Bourne, and so she and I are going to meet up and talk about what they're doing, and I think as well the police specialists are going to meet with Sussex counterparts as well and see if we can find what they're doing differently, which has meant they've diverged from the national trend. So yes, you're absolutely right, we have to do different stuff. Next, please.
I think that works.
One for you, Roger. Can I just ask I think it's 57 children off roads this year. Have you you've analysed, are they young men? Have you done that analysis? And then I've also got one for Spencer. I understand that Essex Police have given money to the Community Safety Partnership in Maldon for more enforcement activity. I just wanted to know what that would look like in terms of increased activity, or is it you're purchasing this other device?
So to pick up on your point, yes, absolutely, that analysis has been done. I said it is a majority, and it is sadly the largest number of people who create or who are doing the criminal behaviour are males aged 18 to 27. Sadly, those who are victims are often pedestrians or cyclists. So being the perpetrator doesn't make you the largest group of victims. There's a lot of talk in the press about old drivers being a problem. Old drivers play virtually no role in KSIs. It's a lot of bent metal, but they're not at fault. Not certainly disproportionately low in terms of their representation in serious road traffic collisions. So yeah, we've absolutely done that analysis. I mean, there's some really fascinating stuff which undoubtedly works that's been tried elsewhere in the world, things like graduated driver's licenses. So yeah, when you're a new driver, but you aren't allowed to do some things like drive at night on a motorway, etc., until you've gotten to the next stage, become a bit older, clocked the experience, and then you become able to do more. One of the really sad and striking features of the numbers is that the likelihood of injury or death doubles if you have a male driver age 18 to 27 for every additional passenger. So if they're by themselves, they're much less risky than if they've got someone else in the car with them. And by the time you've got 4 up, it's really, really scary. We can speculate as to the reasons. I don't know the reasons, but it's just a statistical fact. So graduated driving licenses could change that. You aren't allowed to have passengers until you've got a year under your belt, that sort of thing. Yeah. Popular? It won't be. Yeah, that is not a vote winner in any stretch of the imagination. People will hate it, but it would work. But like the 20 miles an hour limits in Wales, it's had a really positive impact on their road injuries. But economically, it's actually been quite a burden. The question is, what are we prepared to pay for greater road safety? Needs thinking about. Sorry, I've gone on a bit there, haven't I? There was
My question is
yes,
to Spencer.
it was.
I know that they received funding from the Essex Police, so I just wanted to know what that looked like. Is that more true camp patrols, Spencer, or purchasing this other?
No. So what I presume we're talking about the OPDAL funding. So the OPDAL, which is OPGuardian this year, there was funding available for antisocial behaviour hotspots, of which we don't have any in Maldon. but there was a separate pot of funding for antisocial behaviour on the road, of which we get lots of. So that funding was, at the moment, presently we work with 19 parish councils and do enforcement at the various assessed locations, and they had to be assessed by the Safe Essex Roads Partnership. So that what that's looked like is we're doing extra over and above what we already do. So it's been extra work we've been doing at locations throughout the district. The funding for the new camera, which we're going to purchase, is through the Community Safety Partnership Reserves. So that's chaired by Mr. Ballard on the end there, and we agreed that we'd purchase another unit so we can do additional patrols on the roads of Maldon, because that is our biggest #1 priority.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman at the back, and I'll come to this gentleman.
Thank you very much. Davis is me, resident in Maldon. I'm very concerned about prioritisation in the police force and its contribution to the effectiveness of the police, both in solving crime and the overall level of crime. I know, Commissioner, you talked about crime having fallen in recent years, but when one looks back to 2016, I think there were just over 90,000 crimes, and there was a 20% clear-up rate. And in 2024, that had risen to 145,000 crimes, and the clear-up rate had dropped to 14.3. That is a progress. That is very, that's a huge deterioration in the space of 10 years. And when you think about some of the specific prioritisation of Essex Police, last year, as one small example, we had Telegraph journalists, where there were tens of thousands of pounds of police resources presumably spent pursuing Telegraph journalists on a situation where the CPS eventually said there was no public interest in the pursuit of that particular case. And meanwhile, there are crimes going on under the police's, literally under the police's nose every day, which are being ignored. One example, every single day, I'm sure other people in this room smell cannabis. Whether you're on the train, whether you're walking to the train station, wherever you are, almost every day, you smell cannabis now in this country. And what are the police doing about it? And that is one of the things I can tell you for a fact, which is contributing to the increase in traffic accidents, because if you're smelling it that frequently, there must be a huge number of drivers who are under the influence. It causes psychosis. We had a case, I think, last week, a national case, where there was a murder of a schoolboy, which was caused by psychosis of cannabis, and yet the police just seem to simply ignore it, and I don't think pursue it at all. 3 weeks ago, I had a situation near my house where somebody was felling a tree. It might not seem like a big deal, but the tree belonged to them. The tree was a public tree, and they were a homeowner nearby who didn't like the tree. And so what did they do? They decided to get rid of it and fell it. Criminal damage, very similar to the Sycamore Gap tree case in Northumbria, where Northumbrian police very successfully pursued the criminals, and they are now serving a sentence in prison. What did Essex Police say when I reported this? Oh, it's not a TPO, it's not illegal. So apparently, according to Essex Police, you can go around, you can get rid of any tree that you don't like, as long as there's not a TPO on it. That's obviously wrong. If you're getting rid of somebody else's property, that is criminal damage. I was promised a response from the Chief Constable Staff Officer 3 weeks ago, still awaiting a response. So there's lots of these things which are happening. And I hope the Commissioner is familiar with the broken windows theory. Shoplifting is a great example, but there's lots and lots of crime which is just going ignored by the police, and that is why your crime rate has gone up by 60% since 2016, and that's why your clear rate is going down. You need to deal with some of these apparently small issues rather than pursuing Telegraph journalists. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, if I may, David, first of all, I'll just myth bust for the Telegraph journalist. He said spent tens of thousands of pounds. Absolutely not the case. 2 cops turned up to ask some questions. They didn't get answers, so they went away.
You had a goal command. You said a goal command on the back of it.
No, the goal command was to deal with the reputational damage because of the Telegraph.
So that's
intervention.
part of the cost.
No, nothing to do with the crime. Nothing to do with the crime.
It was
To do with reputational damage. Yeah. And that didn't cost tens of thousands of pounds either. That was a comms exercise. But to be clear, you know, there was a complaint, and Essex Police investigate complaints which are said to be around criminal activity.
They didn't investigate one. They haven't even reported a crime. Apparently.
You're talking about the tree?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe Chief Inspector Ballard can say something about that, because I don't know anything about that particular case. I don't know where the tree was, I don't know who the tree was, or whatever, but if it's criminal damage, then obviously it needs pursuing. As regards the crime stats, you need to bear in mind that there have been a lot of new laws since 2016. So in 2016, stalking and harassment was not a crime. That is 25,000 crimes. Domestic abuse, controlling and coercive behaviour was not a crime. That's another 10,000 or so crimes. Using ketamine, an awful lot of new drugs have been made illegal over that period. If you take out the things that weren't a crime in 2016, crime's down. Have a look. You've got those figures, they're all published. Have a look. You're looking very sceptical, but it's down. So we have focused, as I said, on the high harm crimes first.
And what about the clear rate?
The clear rate on things like stalking and harassment is sadly phenomenally low, because it's a very difficult crime to find the perpetrator, to find the evidence. Yeah, it is a tricky one. So yes, on some of those new crimes, there are very, very low clearance rates. The thing that actually concerns me most is rape and serious sexual assault, where we have seen a very substantial increase. And whilst we have improved the clear-up rate for rape threefold, actually it's still only 3.5%, which is far, far too low. It may be a difficult crime to prove, but we need to do more to support women. And to me, that is a real focus that we need to have. Yes, we need to get better at shoplifting. We've recently introduced some new tactics there in May, which have meant that we are now able to accept video and CCTV footage from the stores and take it straight to court. And not, if it's good CCTV footage, we end up going straight to court and getting a guilty plea, without having to bother the CPS too much. So all I would say to you in terms of your overall point is, we have a very clear police and crime plan. It has 6 priorities. Non-crime hate incidents and hate crime are not part of that at all, and we commit next to no resource to it. The things that we really care about are drug-driven knife crime, violence against women and girls, road safety, protecting vulnerable people, and making sure that we are running an efficient organisation and being local and visible and dealing with neighbourhood crime. So that's really clearly laid out, and that is where we spend hundreds of millions of pounds, not hundreds of pounds, which is what we spent on the incident we were talking to in the first place. Yes, it makes big headlines, and actually you could really see how those Daily Telegraph headlines impacted public confidence in policing. Our overall public confidence in policing was at 77% before that fortnight of articles came out, and it fell to 72. It took 5 percentage points of public confidence in Essex Police, that one series of reports. Thankfully, it's rising again now. We're back over 74%, and it's climbing again. But it may well be that we'll have another incident that hits the headlines, like the the released prisoner. Really glad that he was found. As I said to the Chief Constable, if he knows he's getting a free flight, it might not be too hard to find him. I think actually that played a part. He was not fleeing the Metropolitan Police. It was actually finding where he was and taking him back into custody. And of course he was then deported. But
if I might come back on that,
yeah, do.
You help me to cover campus as well. But actually on the prisoner that was released, I was surprised that it took, I think it was the Sun newspaper, to actually publicise that he was free. I think it would have been very sensible for the police, when they found out at 1:30 or whatever, to actually have tweeted that actually this man was breaking the public, because there were multiple sightings of the guy in Charlton High Street and various other places during the course of the afternoon. Because I understand that it was actually the media that alerted the public to the fact that this person was being released to the Northern Police, which seemed very surprising to me.
I have to admit, I haven't checked that timeline at all, David. It was certainly stuff that the police were commenting about. I don't know whether the Sun had it online before the police did or not, but certainly it was on social media. You're absolutely right. It wasn't a secret, and thankfully he was picked up again. I won't say caught because he wasn't fleeing in that sense, but he was picked up again within 48 hours, which I think is a reasonably good intelligence job in putting people together. You did raise cannabis, and cannabis, I think, is a drug which should be increased in terms of its classification. It's currently at a point where the courts don't treat it very seriously. You say the police don't. I can assure you that certainly if people are caught with dealable amounts of cannabis, they're dealt with very seriously indeed. But as you rightly say, it has a big negative effect on people's behaviours. And what really worries me about it, you said it yourself, it is undoubtedly a factor in road traffic collisions. And if you look at the countries that have legalised cannabis, the average rate of increase in road traffic death is sevenfold, 700% if you legalise cannabis. Now, I think that's a heavy price to pay for legalising a drug which does create psychosis, does derail people's lives, probably is playing a role in the lack